prayers are with the people affected by the deluge. Okay, so right now we're about to talk about something really, really important that affects both of us, and it's very important that we discuss this going forward. It's a development concerning the minimum wage, and I'd like us to go in depth on this. We'll also be getting your opinions on this particular matter later on when we open the phone lines. Once again, welcome to the melting point. All right, a brief background before introducing our guest. The federal government and organized labor yesterday settled for 70,000 naira as a new minimum wage. The agreement was reached after the meeting with President Bola Tinubu and the leadership of the organized labor, as well as some members of the government team on the tripartite committee on the new national minimum wage. Recall that the tripartite committee had submitted two figures in its report to the president as a result of disagreement among the government, the private sector, and the organized labor. While the government and the private sector offered 62,000 naira, organized labor demanded 250,000 naira. Speaking to State House correspondents after the meeting with President yesterday, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, said President Tinubu agreed to pay 70,000 naira from the initial offer of 62,000 naira. The Labour was also okay with this, and the Labour explained why it moved from 250,000 naira to 70,000 naira, saying that it considered this 70,000 naira with mixed feelings considering the state of the economy. Whatever that means, we're going to get the perspective from our public affairs analyst. We're supposed to have two guests in the studio, but we have just one. The second person is on his way because of the rain. So right now we have a public affairs analyst. His name is Ikake Basi. Good morning to you, Ikake.
Good morning, Sharon.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Sorry about the rain, and you having to come under that to be here to talk about minimum wage.
It's fine. It's no problem.
All right. So before now, earlier this week, we got a notification that a new minimum wage will be announced next week after the president has sent the approved figure to the National Assembly, and this would come after the meeting, the Thursday's meeting with the organized labor. But then we're expecting the announcement next week. Do you think that the sudden announcement of the new minimum wage being 70,000 naira is as a result of the threats of protest around the country?
Well, you see, the NLC have been going on strikes, and in the past few months we've experienced, in fact, since the beginning of this administration from last year, when fuel subsidy was removed, we've experienced a couple of strikes, warning strikes here and there, but what has not happened is the consistency, in ensuring that this is what we're looking for and standing on that until you get it. I don't really think it's as a result of the threat of strike. It's just the way Nigeria is, the way Nigeria is structured. It's saddening. Yesterday I was thinking, okay, so what made NLC to drop drastically from 250,000 to 70,000? That is like 200 and something, 220% drop. What informed their decision to accept the 70,000? Okay, and what is informing the decision of the federal government to propose 70,000? What makes them think that 70,000 is enough minimum wage for a Nigerian that is buying a basket of tomatoes at the rate of 14 or 15,000 naira? So 70,000 can only afford just about 4 or barely 5 baskets of tomatoes. Right, so that's to me.
And you still have other foodstuffs.
You still have other things to buy.
Other bills.
You understand? If we look at the 70,000 minimum wage, that's just about 40% of what somebody who is earning minimum wage in America is earning per day. Okay, 70,000 that the president has approved for monthly wage, minimum wage in Nigeria is 40,000. I mean 40% of what a worker who is earning minimum wage in America is earning per day. That means that that American is 49% better than a Nigerian. That's sad.
From your analysis, that's a really unfortunate situation. But how do you think that the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira will affect the economy in the short term?
Well, I mean, there's already inflation, right?
Are we expecting more?
Obviously, we have to expect more, so that even the minimum wage, the 70,000, will make no meaning to the people that are earning this money. And let me take us back a bit. I don't know about other states, but in Akwa Ibom State, for example, we have not seen the things that were supposed to cushion the impact of the fuel subsidy removal till now. For example,
but there was free food months ago.
Free food to cushion the impact of fuel subsidy removal. We're talking about transportation system.
Transportation.
Where are the CNG buses? Nobody is having that conversation again, because if people are earning this low, there should be other social infrastructure, social provision to help cushion the impact of this suffering. Workers should have been able to take buses from Nomodo to Plaza, from Ikodikbene to Plaza, from Abak to Plaza and other places at either a reduced rate or no cost. The president talked about CNG buses. We have not seen it yet in Akwa Ibom. Remember, some months ago, about 500 billion was voted to cushion the impact of this fuel subsidy removal. Okay, and I remember that I did mention that there is a way to apply that money such that it will have a short-term positive impact on the citizens, especially the workers, and then it will also have a long-term. But that money was just shared like that. Nobody's asking any question again, and we've all gone back to status quo. And here we are talking about 70,000 minimum wage, which is actually nothing in a country where a senator is earning 1.5 million naira as basic salary, whereas the allowance is about 53 million. If you combine that, it means the senator is earning 157 times of this minimum wage. Look at the disparity. I don't know the thinking that produces the kind of decisions, the kind of policies, the kind of programs that we are running in this country. It's not helping matter. Nigerians are suffering. 70% minimum wage is nothing to applaud. But when you consider that people were receiving 30, then you can say, oh, the president has done much. That's about 120% increase. Okay, but compare it to the economic reality on ground, it's nothing.
So you're saying that things could have been done before the minimum wage, like putting things on ground, like the CNG vehicles that you spoke about.
Very important. We were supposed to, even in the state, our governor was talking about buses, and all of that. We were anticipating. And today there is no bus. And nobody's asking questions. And so food distribution is good, but it's just short term, something that can just fizzle away at any time. But there are things you can do over time. It will impact on the people. It will impact on their earning. For example, if there is a CNG bus taking somebody from Ekate to Uyo, from Uyo to Ekate or to Oron, you can be sure that the transportation cost for that person will reduce. Then the person will be able to save more on transportation. But if you give that man 3 cups of rice or 10 cups of rice, it will finish in a day or 2 max. So government should be holistic in their thinking, in their programming, in their policy, direction, so that the citizens will not be always the ones to bear the brunt. This country, 100 and something billion naira, was voted for the senators to furnish their offices. Okay, if you divide that money to the number of workers we have in the country, then you should know what that means. So we don't have a justification. We cannot stand up and clap for the president and say, oh, 70,000, you've done so much, when dollar is at 1,500 going to 1,500 and something, or 600, 1,600. It doesn't add up. I think this minimum wage, we could have managed something within the region of 150, 180,000 then.
But is that something that the government can afford? Because that's
yes. If the government can afford to pay a senator, one senator, 53 million monthly, they can afford to pay even 300,000 to the citizens. They can afford, but they don't just want to do it. It is called feudalism, right? What they are practicing is feudal. They want to keep you poor so that you can keep coming to them to beg. During campaign, during election, they can come to you and give you, one bag of 10 kg of rice. Then you will now clap and sing. That's what they want. That's what they are doing, and that's not how to develop economy. Nigeria. We need the intervention of God. Sorry.
You have been talking about the Senate salary, and it takes me to where the House of Reps have agreed that they're going to halve their salaries just so they can help Nigeria. So they're donating 300,000 naira, which is 50% of their salaries, as they have said. 50% of their salaries is 300,000 naira for 6 months to help the economy. What's your take on that?
They should donate 70% of their allowances. Then we can say that they are doing. So what is the meaning of donating 50% of their salary, which is, how much did you say? 300,000, when they themselves are earning about 30-something million monthly as allowance? That's hypocrisy. We don't need that. They should bring better policies that can help the citizens to live better. We need quality of life, standard of living, and quality of life. That's what we need. They should think along this line and stop this rent-seeking donation mentality. We don't need it. We need better policies that can make a Nigerian to have dignity. There's what is called dignity of labor. Nigerians do not have dignity of labor. Even in the private sector, they don't. It will surprise you to note that in the banking sector, for example, 30% of their workforce are contract staff. 70% rather. 70% are contract staff. In fact, you in a whole setup, you might see just 5-6 persons who are professional staff. The rest are contract staff. Why? Because they don't want to take responsibility for these people. There is no dignity of labor, because there's no value for life. Is the corruption that we are talking about. So government is not even doing its own bid, let alone to begin to look at regulating the private sector. So everywhere is we are in a quagmire. That is not what we need from the federal legislators. What we need is better legislation that will push Nigeria and Nigerians forward, not donation. We don't need the 300,000. They should cut down by 70% or 80% on the allowances. Then that will make sense.
All right. In terms of affordability, now, you said 150,000 we can manage 150,000, and I was asking if it is, if the federal government can afford that. Now, I remember when there was this negotiation about 62,000 naira, and state governments and even local governments came out to say that, hey, even this 62,000 naira, we cannot afford 62,000 naira. Workers are going to be owed salaries for months, especially on the local government level. And recently, the NLC said that the National Assembly is looking to decentralize minimum wage and to make sure that states are able to pay what or they decide on the minimum wage that they want to pay their workers. Do you see that as a good development if that happens? Do you see that that working if that happens?
And they should decentralize so that a state like Akwa Ibom State should be able to pay up to 350,000 a month, because we are earning about 30 to 30 something billion in revenue every month. What are we doing with the money? So yes, they should decentralize so the states can pay based on their capacity. Akwa Ibom State has a lot of money, but what are we doing with it? Where are the infrastructure? Where is the impact of that money in the HDI, Human Development Index? It's not there. So they should decentralize, and they should stop saying that they cannot afford to pay. They should cut down on their luxury. They are coming to serve the people, for God's sake. They are not coming to serve themselves. So they should tell that to people who have not gone to school or who are illiterate. But if you're conversant with the numbers, then you should know that they are able to pay, they don't want to pay. More so, I put this challenge across. The government should come forward with the mathematics that made them arrive at the 70,000. Let us also see if mathematically, if we cannot do more. That's the simple argument. But where they are just coming on and say 70, what made you arrive at 70? You say 62. What made you arrive at 62? Let's be a bit more scientific. Show us the data. That's what we want to see.
All right, if you're just joining us, this is the Melting Point on Memories 96.5 FM. It's 20 minutes gone past the hour of 10. And when we started, I said we're supposed to have two guests here in the studio. While Aikake was talking, a second guest walked into the studio, a public affairs analyst and someone that is regular on the Friday edition of the Melting Point, Mr. Donald Noah. Good morning, Mr. Noah.
Yeah, good morning, Sharon. Good morning, listener. I sincerely apologize coming a little behind time.
Welcome, and sorry about the rain.
It's not rain, once in a way, it's not rain. Rain is his time. You want, as Nigerian, must take responsibility. I think for me, it's not rain, it was unforeseen circumstances beyond my control. Because if they come and sign contract, you will see come even no matter how heavy rain, it's still good. So you think it's not rain.
All right, let's get your take on the new minimum wage that has been approved by the president, the 70,000 naira minimum wage.
Yeah, the 70,000 minimum wage, but I beg to differ, because I know that it's good, but our greatest challenge is not the minimum wage, because if you do the little calculation, like my brother said, and you discover that the 70,000 naira doesn't take anywhere. But anyway, I think that it is about 120% increment. I think we have 30,000 minimum wage before. The government has increased it to 70, which is about 110 to 150, 120% increment. I think that is a good one for the federal workers and from Ajero. Ajero said why they accepted the 70,000 is because of there's a lot of other incentive, and the federal government has promised that they're going to review it after 3 months, and also they said they are going to decentralize it, as we said, and also there's going to be a CNG buses. There are a lot of things. That is why the Ajero and the TUC president of Civil.
But at this point, Mr. Noah, these are incentives that have been promised for months, especially the CNG buses that Nigerians have been waiting for. Ikaka just mentioned something. We have been waiting for CNG buses for the longest time since it was promised, and we haven't seen anyone in this state.
You know, one thing is government.
So are those promises enough to take in, the 70,000 naira? Waiting for the incentives?
Maybe they wanted to learn, because there was a lot of, since last year there's been a lot of meetings. They say they want the government will pay them 35% provisional, whether for 6 months, and workers from information that have not been paid a lot of things. Maybe the FG wanted to learn at the minimum wage before they kick off other incentives. But I think, as you rightly said, the incentive is supposed to come so that when the 70,000 naira come, I think it will not be as normal mirror to the civil servant. Because if you do the calculation, how much is the bag of rice, and how much is the civil servant paying to work, how much is house rent? If you do the calculation and calculate, you discover that the 70,000 naira being increased will not take us to anywhere. But at the same time, even if you give the whole civil servant 500,000 a month in the minimum wage, or what we call living wage, or take home wage, how many percent are they? You see, when you open the news every day, you become so sad. Sometimes tears will run out of my eyes. like the one I had yesterday, one of the subsidiary NNPC or subsidiary of NNPC, Mr. Farouk, the chairman said that Dangote fuel is a fake.
It's not fake. It's inferior.
It's inferior. It is inferior. Very
in terms of quality.
In terms of quality,
compared to the imported.
Compared to the imported one, and also the managing director of Dangote come and say the most of the imported fuel that they are also inferior. You see, at this point now, renting such a $1 billion, 20 billion naira project now
$1
billion project unattractive and trying to demarket it. See, sometimes you look at the country, you discover that what is happening. But I think I had a good news from NNPC Federal Executive Council that is going to meter all the flows, about 187 flow stations in the country. So, but the minimum wage issue is we thank God it has come, it has ended. Let government bring the incentive. Let government begin to go back to the work. Let government see how I can fix the economy, because the minimum wage is not taking civil servant home. But even if the 30,000 naira minimum wage, some state from information we had, I'm not be able to pay. Some state I see only their civil servant about 11 months. So I see only their civil, like Imo State. All their civil servant about 10 months, and some civil. I don't want to mention pensioners, because I was reading the other. Some pensioners don't even know when they collected their salary last. They have even lose count of their salary. So there are a lot of issues in the country. I think they need to have the harmonize minimum wage. And also, what about the informal sector? The question now, if you are paying 70,000 minimum wage, now the federal government said they're going to see how informal sector can also align with the minimum wage. But the question now is, with the business environment, no power, insecurity, inflation, how can the informal sector be able also to pay the 70,000 minimum wage, even the 50,000 minimum wage to their workers? So there are a lot of issues, there are a lot of things in the hands of Mr. President to fix. But you let you just pray that God should give him the wisdom and his team so he can fix our economy. Because where we are now, I think a lot needs to be done.
Okay, we're not just renewing our hope, we're also praying on a daily basis for these leaders. Okay, Mr. Noah, still sticking to you. You said that the NLC has, it said that they are having mixed feelings, and then okay, let me just direct the question to Ikake. The fact that the NLC said they are having mixed feelings, and because they are taking up because there are some incentives that were promised, because that's why they took the 70,000 naira. What are the key takeaways that you see from this NLC side of the negotiation? Because I've had analysts that have come here to say that the NLC knows the federal government and the federal government knows the NLC, and so the NLC knows what they're doing.
You see, I wanted to say negotiation is a skill, They should have started from the incentive to the wage. But I think at some point they decided to focus more on the wage than the incentive. All these things started during the time when fuel subsidy was removed, and they went on strike. Federal government started negotiating. They have not exhausted that incentive negotiation and gotten actions by the federal government on that. Now we are talking about wage. There is no CNG bus. 500 billion was voted for and disbursed to make these incentives available. Nobody's asking questions, which is why I'm asking this morning, where are the CNG buses? We're supposed to have, for example, 500 billion, the other time I was doing an analysis, could afford each state 100 coastal buses, so that states like Akwa Ibom, we should have 3 in each local government, right? And then probably 5 or 7 in the capital city. Do you know the impact of that? That will help to reduce the cost of transportation on workers, which is very critical. And we also talked about the fact that the government is supposed to have invested heavily in empowering farmers, to cultivate. Now we are talking about scarcity of tomatoes or increase in inflation, in the price of tomatoes. All these things should have been. I also proposed that the federal government should look at investing in MSMEs, small and medium enterprises, empower them, give them money to inject into their business. so that one, they can sustain the business and sustain their workers. During COVID-19, part of the model in the United States to cushion the impact was to make money available to businesses. The question was, how long can you hold? Meaning, how long can you keep running without sacking or downsizing, without closing, And for that question to be answered, government had to inject capital into these businesses. People were given grants and people were able to access loans. Some SMEs were able to access even up to $1 million, and they were able to cushion the impact of the COVID-19, and jobs were retained. But in Nigeria, for example, during that period, Access Bank donated $2 billion to the federal government and sacked about 1,000 something staff. So is this hypocrisy that is going on in the country that it's making somebody, it's affecting our psyche? Go back, let's talk about the incentive, the CNG buses, the investment into agriculture, injecting of money into MSMEs, and then before we get down to the wage, so that now that this 70% is 70,000 is coming, people could have been having means of movement. We would have had a lot of production. Businesses would have still been running. But how would a private business be able to get loan from the bank at the rate of 30% interest? That's not how to run economy. So to me, the people out there, call them ministers of these, commissioners of these, they don't have the intellectual capacity to manage this economy. And most of them are supposed to have resigned by now. I don't know why they're still there, because we are suffering as a result of their decision.
All right, interesting take there. So now let's go into reading of palliatives, because as it is now, the federal government, in fact, the state government just said that they have taken their own share of the 25 kg rice, 20,000 bags of 25 kg rice. So right now, the federal government is still reeling palliatives as a short-term measure. Do you think that this can hold water at this point?
It is very, very unfortunate that at this 21st century, a country like Nigeria, the giant of Africa, is still talking about palliative. And if you share the palliative, is it about 20 how many thousands of 125 kg, about 1,002, that is petrol. If you share it, one more like the former party, the last one they gave, I saw somebody with 2 cups of rice and with eating that talk about palliative at this point of 21st century is very, very unfortunate. Unfortunately, the leaders, according to my brother, that they have run out of idea to run the country. It is very, very unfortunate at this time with President Tinubu and his team is talking about sharing rice to the people. It is how long will we go from here? Is it how it's done in other advanced countries? I think 2 days, is it 2 or 3 days ago, some of the move to cushion the effects of hardship in United States, the President Biden just wrote up the debt, the school fee debt, that is a debt collected most of by Americans, and they need to be debt free. So those are the things that strategy need to be bring into the country. But sharing of rice, how long will we go from here? The former administration did it, and this one is coming to toe the same line. And there's a saying that goes that doing things the same way and expecting different results is another definition of insanity. I sound here very, very before since last year that they're going to be a food insecurity. Why will we going to have food insecurity? We heard here that farmers cannot access their farm. There's insecurity in some part of the north. There's insecurity in a part of the country. But mostly the leadership of the country treated them with liberty. They were playing policy with insecurity. Now see the situation that we are now. Inflation rate in food stuff is about 41 to 42%. And most of Nigerians cannot afford food. And a country that you cannot feed yourself, but they say, how can you grow? And now the government now feeling that since there's food insecurity, they now want to give out palliative. That is very, very wrong. That is not going to take us anywhere. And because of we are now being in the fixed position, and the FG also now said they are now resorted to importation to about 150 days. And the question is, what are we going to do? Already for us, we have said about 1,500, 1,600 per dollar. And if we now go to import food again, before you know about $1, we have about 2,000 to 3,000 naira, because there's going to be pressure on the naira. So it is very, very unfortunate that while the so-called leaders don't know what to do. Like what my brother said, there's no way you can reflect the economy without subsidy to power. There's no way you can inflate the economy without giving aid, without giving a loan to small scale medium enterprises, SMEs. Those are the people that reflected the economy of any state. Go to America now. You find most of the private sector, they are doing very well. Most of our people that are jumping to advanced country like Canada, they are not working in most of them are not working in government establishment. They are working in private sector, and they are doing well in their country. But when it comes to Nigeria, most of the SMEs has closed down. The multinationals they are closing down, and now the leadership of the country is not doing anything about that. Like power, there is no country that you don't have subsidy either in energy or power or food or education. But virtually everything Nigerians are paying for it. Presently, how will you get power? How will you run a private business without power, without security? So I think the government and the ministers, the commissioners, and the government officials, the civil service, to all hands must be on deck to see how we can cope in security, because without coping in security, there's no way that we can get to that place that we are. But for palliative, I am not in support of giving palliative. It will not work. It will not take us to anywhere. It will only make us to only run in a visual second. Like the one that I just coming, I think about 28,000, and thank God for the governor. The governor said it's going to double it to be about 48,000 bucks. But the question is, they're going to share about. We have about 2,500 gazetted villages. They are going to share to the village. For the last palliative, I think we heard here from most of the analysts that palliative was embezzled by some village head, was embezzled by chairman of village, from youth, for some official in the village. And the question is, when the government distributed to the villages for onward sharing to the vulnerable, because they say it's for the very poor people. And the question asked, the way we are now in Nigeria, it is very hard to distinguish between vulnerable and poor people and rich people. You can only differentiate the very rich people and poor people, because there's no middle class again. I don't know how they're going to distinguish between vulnerable and poor people. I don't know how they're going to distinguish that. But the question is, how sincere would this village head, the chairman of the youth and women, the official in the village, will share this palliative to vulnerable people in the village? And the question is, how long were they going to sustain it? How long would these few cups of rice going to sustain them? And then after the 2 cups of rice they are eaten, then what next?
All right, it's 24,000 bags of rice that was given to Akwa Ibom State. But then before you came, I was asking Ikake, the House of Reps, the House of Rep members have decided to slash their salaries by 50% to give off to help Nigeria. So they're giving off 300,000 naira for 6 months, and I would like to hear your take on that. Is that a welcome development?
Yeah, that is policy of tokenism. I expected them to slash their salary at the whole with the allowances and everything. So sincere. Not a token of 600,000 that this is according to them is their basic salary, but that's time to be corrected. If one House of Rep member and even more than 10 to 12 million naira or 5 million naira, they are not any 600,000, but they should cut their salary by the entire allowances, the travel allowance, the newspaper allowance, the sitting allowance, rather than deceiving us with a token of 300,000. Well, that is a policy because of from news we heard that there is going to be a protest from some part of the country, and some people are saying don't protest. Maybe they are just doing that maybe to deceive some form of the youth that okay, don't protest. I'm giving you the 300,000, and the question is how you are going to implement the 300,000 for the good of Nigerians. That's the question. There are about 360 House of Rep members. So calculate 300,000 and 360. That might be some paltry sum of money. The question: how are they going to implement that? Would I not see go on buying some truck of rice and see moving for the same sector? But I think they should make laws. They should make a legislation that will take out of the wood. We have what we call Bank of Industry. Why don't you make legislation that please, if you are registered and a professional SME, that's a managing director of a company, you can access loan of 1 million and what is happening in an advanced country. Maybe you can take that you can start to repay that within a period of maybe 1 year or 6 months. It should make a legislation that will take us from good government rather than coming to a policy of tokenism.
This particular question I want to hear from both of you now. There another resolution from that meeting was that they are going to start reviewing the minimum wage after 3 years. And this is because of the inflation that is no longer galloping, as what according to one of my analysts, no longer galloping, it's not rising. So every 3 years there will be a review of the minimum wage. Is this I'm going to still say welcome development? Let me start with you. Okay.
You see, there's something called the iceberg theory of problem solving. Only 10% of the iceberg is what is seen. 90% is buried underground. So what's really the problem of Nigeria? The problem of Nigeria is we are not a productive country. That's fundamental. We are not producing anything. We are not exporting anything. If you go to our port, most of the containers, how do they call it? They return empty after they have brought goods. So we are not exporting anything because we are not producing anything. A country with over 54 million hectares of land that is good for cultivation, that is not doing much in agriculture, is a waste, right? A country whose population 66% are youths, and they are not galvanizing the potentials, the intellectual resources of these youths, is a waste. The country where they cannot make policies and programs in order to ensure that we move from consumption to production, that country is a waste. Now we are talking about the issue of inflation, and federal government strategy to curb it is reviewing, they are proposing to review salary every 3 years. That is them now trying to solve the symptom of the problem, which is just 10%. Remember, I talked about the iceberg theory of problem solving. We should go down to the 90%, which is that we need to produce. How do we stimulate the economy? Sorry, let me be a little bit academic. Will Durant has written a book, it's 13,000 pages, called The Story of Civilization. And there are 4 things in that book that stands out. How are civilization created? How are civilization created? He talked about 4 constituents. Number 1, economic provision. Number 2, political organization. Number 3, moral traditions. Number 4, the pursuit of knowledge and the arts. We have failed in all these 4 constituents of civilization. And in that book, the author asserted that anything that fights the economic provision will ultimately stop the civilization. So why are we not moving forward? Why are we not able to create anything in this country? It's because our economy is badly shaped. We don't have economy. So a fight on our finances is a fight on our evolution, on our civilization. Let me take it back home to what I'm saying. Government should ensure that we produce enough to export so that can balance trade, or even give us advantage, which will impact on our earning potential. The way to fight this inflation is to produce. It is not to review salary. When you review the salary, where are you going to get it to pay? Now that they are complaining that there's no money anywhere, they don't have the money to pay. So the review they are going to be doing every 3 years, where will they be getting the money to pay? So we need to, of a necessity and of urgency, start producing. And to start producing means we need to inject a lot of capital into programs that will empower the productivity of citizens, that will enable you that have an idea to wake up and begin to do something about your ideas or your dreams, and before you know it, your products and your services are out there. That is how to stimulate the economy. That is how to fight inflation. That is how to even talk about earning a good wage. Okay? Not trying to review. What is he going to review? It's mere rhetoric. It doesn't mean anything. It will not impact on anything.
Okay, so now before I come to you now, let's open the phone lines. I would hear your perspective, but then let's open the phone lines because we're behind schedule. All right, we've been talking about the new minimum wage that has been approved by the president, the tripartite committee, including the organized labor, which is 70,000 naira. And we've been talking about the impact of this decision, some of the incentives that were promised by the president, and everything that surrounds it. If you'd like to join into the discussion, then the phone lines are open for you. 0803 085 7755 or 0809 066 6909. I'll take the numbers again: 0803 085 7755 or 0809 066 6909. Or you can send a message to our WhatsApp number. The number is 0809 066 6909. We're also streaming live on Facebook. The handle is Memories965 FM. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Memories and the guest in the house.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling us from?
Yes, Nelson calling from you.
Welcome, Nelson.
I don't know why the federal government used to play games with Nigeria and Nigeria. Now, His Excellency the President has to pass the minimum 5 into law for 70,000 and reduce it from 4 years to 3 years. So he will use it at the 3rd year for election for campaign. But Nigeria should be wise. We have right for our education, but at the same time, I think Nigeria should learn these first 4 years and let's be wise towards the second term. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the phone lines are still open for you to call in. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. What's your name and where are you calling us from? I didn't get the name. Alright, we have to go to the next call. 0803 085 7755 or 0809 066 6909. Hello, good morning. I don't know what's going on with the network this morning. Hello, good morning. Your name is Ini.
I'm glad that I know calling from the basic group.
Okay, welcome.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say, but just I can just say that the president enhancing 70,000 at minimum wage and saying you want to review it the next 3 years. But my own issue is that the past, let's say the past few years, they said it was 4 years. How many times have they reviewed it under that 4 years? Because I'm not saying it. I'm taking like some years before they review it to know what I cannot call it calamity. Makes no sense. I want to say, let's take a look at it. Should I say the bunch of friends they said it was there, but it makes no sense. They have some good things like in me. They can do a bunch of friends. So it can enhance those money down there. And they can plan right and also make it a more realistic price for all of us. Thank you.
Alright, thank you very much. Good morning, Udor, once again.
Good morning, Sharon. Once again, also. Good morning, my guest calling from.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My people, I want to say that it is 70,000 minimum wage that approved and maybe accepted by a labor union and the civil workers. It's something that all of us know that it will bring no difference from what was happening, because we see that day by day things, the price of especially food stuff are going up, and it can't change anything. When I just sit down and try to reason, I just feel that there may be a situation that God can confuse our leaders in Nigeria to be confused so that they privatize the 3 arms of government to people to go in, because I believe like a senator with earning up to allowance of 53 billion. Someone can go to that position and work and receive not more than 50,000 and perform more than a senator that is receiving this money. Then I want to say that our people should not be bringing certain actions that has no good. Actions that look like a living creature that has no good, like the protest of the union, of labor union and other people. Going to protest for the increase of a minimum wage in this kind of time is not necessary. You're supposed to go there and protest and ask the politicians to reduce the money that they take home. Also protest to make sure that everybody that is involved in corruption in any sector in Nigeria should be shown the way home.
Okay, we'll wrap up.
Receiving this person again into the public office.
All right.
That is the thing that can help us. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Kevin. Hello, good morning, Kevin. Alright, we lost that call, but do also call us back. Kevin, 0803 085 7755 or 0809 066 6909. Good morning, Kevin.
Lovely, good morning, Sharon. And your guest.
Good morning.
It's Wednesday, Friday. Very good day, even if you're that I am now. I just want to commend you. I always like this program, nothing for give it up.
Thank you.
Now, I just want to speak of this NLC, CUC, and federal government, coming to negotiation table finally. But the ridiculous that the president gives NLC is that the reason why they have NLC has this 70,000 is because the president will make the fuel available. And if he makes fuel available, he may increase the price of fuel. So NLC now said, okay, we are going to affect this. If you are going to minimize the price of fuel, we are going to take the 70. But the NLC failed to ask the president when is this one going to be available, so that if this date is not, there is no point in that date, you can go for protest for the fuel, not for the minimum wage again. But they don't ask again. But the president just said, if you take this one 250, you are going to make a fuel cost. So they say, okay, give us 70 and make the fuel cheap. But they don't tell the case that this one is going to be available. So that is my concern. Finally, on this palliative, things from initiation, I'm not a fan of palliative. And I don't know if I'm asking the president that palliative can be the nation. I don't think so. So I think what I think they should do is any form of palliative that comes to either from the state or the federal government. I think they should channel it to the market. Take people that are going to sell this right or any other thing. So that when I go there, I'm going to buy the government right. And that will help to slash down the price of the price of right other rights on other. Rather than telling people to
Thank you, Kevin.
Who's more palliative is going to help.
All
I don't
right.
even know if I'm asking the president on this palliative stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. All right, we have a WhatsApp message that I'd like to take. Good morning, Lady Sharon and guests in the studio. Federal government increases the salary of workers to 70k minimum wage is commended. But how about the private sector workers who speak for them? Because we're working like an elephant and eating like an ant. In front of Bangor from Nungu Kwaditam. All right, we can't take more calls now because we have to summarize and leave the studio. So let's get reactions from the analysts. I was with you, Mr. Noah, so I'll need you to react to the callers and then respond to the question that I asked Ikake about the federal government. What was the question again? Yes, 3 years changing, reviewing of the minimum wage. Yes, so I'll need your response so that we can get to him and conclude.
Now, quickly, you see the review, you see the problem in the country. I always say that it's not corruption per se. That our greatest problem in this country is patriotism and a commitment to nation building. That if you see a lot of things that is most of our leaders are doing, like the one that they say the managing director subsidiary of NNPC came up to say yesterday that the fuel is inferior. Very, very unpatriotic statement from an elder statement like that. And if you see the way they are leading the country, you will discover that we have a long way to go in the country. Because if we are not patriotic, there's no way we can move forward. Okay, for example, look, let's let me come in this perspective. Let us take a case story of Singapore. How did the King Wan Yu move Singapore from a third world country, that's a developing nation, to a developed nation? What did he use? The blue economy. That's the blue economy, which is the seaport. Now, if we can just even focus on only energy, which is the Dangote refinery, that we have a lot of, because Dangote, according to report, I don't know whether it's true or not, that the capacity that he can feed about it, from statistics we are consuming about 50 to 55 million thousand of liters of PMS every day. Now, if we have the Dangote refinery that can feed us, and we import, it will bring pressure on it will strengthen our naira, and we'll move on to a production economy. But the question is, our leaders are moving from left, right, and center. Now let me react to some of the callers. I think as the NLC has protested, has negotiated, has gone for strike for a minimum wage, I urge NLC also, they should also go on strike for good governance. They should go on strike to see how we can have PMS. They will go on strike to ask, why is Dangote refinery? Is it true that Dangote refinery has inferior PMS? If it's true, they should ask the multinational IOCs, why are they not giving why are not supplying according to PIA Act and a local country? Why are they not supplying crude oil to Dangote, so that we have a PMS, not giving the 70,000 and at the end federal government will take back the money?
Thank you, Kake. Let's hear from you in 30 seconds.
All right. We thought that we would have a relief as a result of Dangote, but now we are aware that his product is inferior based on what we've heard recently. And it is barely 45% completed. You know, it's still in the commissioning stages. You know, so that's like backstepping for us. Then on the issue of palliative, 48,000 bags of rice that is now going to be distributed in Enquiry State, because federal government is giving 28,000. The state government wants to add 20,000. That makes it
24.
24. Federal government is giving 24.
State government add 24.
State government add 24.
Yeah.
That makes it 48.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's 25 kg. A bag of 25 kg is 32 cups of rice, and we have 7.2 million people in Enquiry State. So if that is going to be distributed, people should be expecting 5 cups of rice.
This is for vulnerable.
That is what the federal government are able to do for now. It is really sad. We should grow past this level. We've come a long way. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Noah said that's for the vulnerable. Please, who is not the vulnerable in this Nigeria now, at this point? Who is not the vulnerable?
That's why I don't know how they say social register. They're going to say social register. Maybe they will check from the social register.
Thank you.
I don't know whose name that are there. I don't know. Maybe you need to check our name, whether we are our names in the social register in our villages.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, listener.
Thank you, Kake Basi. Thank you, Donald Noah, for your time here. Thank you very much. All right, thank you so much for listening to the program, The Melting Point on Memories 96.5 FM. It's music, and then the scorecard will come up at 11, or MC Asa will be here. My name is Sharon Mandor. Thank you once again. I'll be back again for the midday news.